Hey, what's up? It's the Game Impulse here. Tyler, Keith, and Sam here with a review of Grand Theft Auto 5, arguably the most anticipated game of 2013, one of the biggest games of this generation. And, yeah, I mean, we're here to talk about it. Me and Keith played it on Xbox 360, Sam played it on PlayStation 3. This came out September 17th. I'm pretty sure the whole world knows that, though, so I don't even know why I said that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we've played the shit out of this game, and we're here to talk about it. So, what were you guys' expectations for this game? Or what'd you also think of Grand Theft Auto 4?
I liked Grand Theft Auto 4. Like, it wasn't my favorite game, but I enjoyed playing it for the time that I did have it. And I just was expected, just a better Grand Theft Auto 4, better, more colors, because, that game's kind of dark and gray, and, just all around any better gameplay. Some of the parts of the gameplay were kind of shoddy, in my opinion, but just a better Grand Theft Auto experience is what I wanted.
I never played Grand Theft Auto 4 too much. I played it with someone a little bit, just kind of messing around. I didn't play through the story. I just kind of drove around a little bit. From what I remember, it was the only game, the Grand Theft Auto game, that I've played since I played Grand Theft Auto San Andreas at the time. So it was definitely a step up being on the newer consoles and everything. But I don't remember too much of it. For Grand Theft Auto 5, I anticipated, I didn't really think much of it. It was kind of an impulse buy. I was never going to buy it when it came out because I thought, yeah, it's going to be good and everything, and, I didn't think the world of it though. But it definitely sort of met my expectations. Not meaning that it wasn't the best. It means that I thought it was good and it was good. So that's kind of what I thought of it.
Yeah, when 4 came out, I played that for a while and stuff, and I just remember being extremely disappointed with it. I hated the way it played, more of the gunfights and stuff, and it was an overall disappointment. I couldn't really stand how the game was just like Keith said. It was dark, and there wasn't much color to it. It just seemed like there was this gray tint on everything. So I was just really disappointed with 4, but and then I heard 5 was coming out. I was just like, meh. It's another Grand Theft Auto game. I don't know if I really dig it. But then Rockstar put out the first gameplay trailer of it, and that's where I was like, this game's going to be pretty great. And I had a good feeling that this game's going to be different than other Grand Theft Auto. Not dressed. It's not like hugely different, but it's just better executed, and that's what I think about this. So let's dig right in with the story, fellas.
Story. My opinion of the story is I like the story. I think personally it's better than GTA 4's story.
Yeah.
As much as I've gotten done right now, I haven't beaten it. I definitely think it's better, and I like how they've interwoven these 3 narratives, and how you can kind of switch and play through the narratives. Like, there's certain parts where you have to play as somebody for a certain thing, but then, like, if you wanted to, you could play almost entirely as Michael the entire way through the game, and then just play a little bit as everybody else when, like, you have to, if you wanted to play the game that way, and it's possible. And there's just a couple of things that are kind of, I don't know, it seems like they're definitely put in there for the GTA shock factor, like a couple of scenes. Not gonna spoil anything, but and then I mean, the only other thing that maybe might be an issue with the story is like it's very heavily towards Michael and Trevor to an extent. Trevor is like probably the second, but then Franklin's just kind of there. He just kind of happens to be along for the ride, I feel. And that's like my only gripe. Otherwise, I love the story so far in this game, and I'm gonna try my damnedest to beat it, so yeah.
I thought the story was, I don't know, kind of basic. There wasn't too much to it. like a game that I've heard a lot about, that at least Tyler's talked about it, is The Last of Us, where the story is supposedly very good and everything. I didn't think this was one of those games. It was sort of a Grand Theft Auto Rockstar game, like you'd expect. You know, the story isn't, you know, the most intense thing where it could be made into a movie, but I think the story was just kind of basic. Not to say that it's bad, but, you know, it's just what you'd expect for Grand Theft Auto. It didn't surprise me much at all. Taking in consideration that there were sort of 3 different storylines and 3 interchangeable characters and all of that, that was pretty cool. But all in all, the stories were, I don't know, they weren't like story of the year or anything.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the middle between Sam and Keith. I like the story. I think it's good. It's by no means bad. I've definitely, you know, experienced worse stories than this, but it can really pull you in and you know, get you interested in it and make you want to see what's going to happen next. But then at the same time, and we'll get a little bit more when we talk about the characters. At the same time, at certain parts, I feel that it's a little bit inconsistent in its tone. Like it sometimes will really build up to something exciting, but then it's something after that will just kind of be like, well, why the hell did I do that? I'm kind of confused as why I had to do that. But and then I'm kind of with Keith about how the story kind of, like, you know, it starts off with, you know, all 3 have their separate stories, but then it just kind of molds into one to where, you know, all into Michael's story and they're assisting Michael and all that stuff. And Trevor has his own, you know, side stuff like Keith was saying. But then, you know, Franklin, I just felt like his story, I mean, it's just kind of like, I don't know, he's just, like he said, I mean, he's kind of there. And that just kind of, in ways, bothers me. I mean, it would be cool if they would have a singular story, but then all 3 of them really have this fleshed out type of story and stuff. But, I mean, overall, it's good, but I just feel at times it is a little bit inconsistent with what it's about. But it's not like this tale that'll just rock everybody's world and really is, you know, like The Last of Us or something that just people, you know, you get so emotionally attached to all these characters and all that stuff. But it's good, but I feel it could have been slightly better done. So let's talk about the characters and, you know, Trevor, Michael, and Franklin.
I like all the characters. They're all great characters, and I think they all add something to, like, the main arc of the story, and I do enjoy playing as all the characters. But, like I kind of said, Franklin, also because of his almost, like, just kind of bystander kind of aspect to him being in the story, he's probably my least favorite character. He seems very bland-ish to me. I don't know. He's not boring, and I probably somehow have spent most of my time playing as Franklin, but I don't know. I like Michael and Trevor better, and Michael's cool because, you know, he's like kind of a loose cannon, but then, like, in a way somehow he's like the voice of reason, and his story's, you know, the main interesting one. Like, he's got a family that, you know, is messed up, and then and all kinds of other shit. And he's got things that on his mind that he can't, like, get over from his past, and all kinds of other things that make him a really interesting character. But probably my favorite character is Trevor, and that's just because he's a fucking loose cannon. Honestly, I could see Trevor, and I love characters that are like this, where you could easily take the same character, build him up the exact same way, and he could easily be a villain. And that's why I kind of like Trevor, is that you can kind of, with very little stretch of the imagination, you can make him out to be a villain. like somehow, like in another game where if you could put a villain, you'd be like, I could see him representing that, and I like that. And then also, there's a lot more shit to do as him, I feel, in the game, and some of the cutscenes are just fucking funny. Like, it's probably some of the best moments I've had playing that game, is just listening to the conversations he has with people. So, yeah, that's what I think of the characters anyway.
Between the three main characters, like Keith, I'll start with Franklin. He's the one that I've played as most. A big part of why I liked him is because of his driving ability. Whether I would be going somewhere in a mission or just, like a Sunday drive or something, I liked his ability, like, to slow down time and make quicker turns. That was pretty cool. The character itself, himself, I guess, I don't know. I like Franklin. He was, I guess, more of the quiet one of the group, mainly because he wasn't too involved in some of the storylines. But overall, I guess I liked him mainly because of that, in a way. I felt like I wanted to play as him more to maybe, go along with some of his side stories, like what I'm thinking is his ex-girlfriend who's getting married, and there's some other girl who's dating a crackhead or something, and he has to drive a tow truck for her, and he's just kind of the good guy of the group, I feel, in a way. A little more so than Michael can be. But Michael is probably the second most played character. The one element of the game, story-wise, that I was sort of drawn into was Michael's family, and they you kind of feel the isolation a little bit after they leave, and you sort of feel the frustration with them while they're there and they're doing stupid things. Like, I thought his son was a complete loser, and his daughter was, your typical
Whore.
Yeah. And his wife was something like how a bad wife is always played out. It reminded me of Judith from 2.5 Men for some reason. Not sure if anyone watches that show. But
Is it still around?
what?
Not really.
Yeah.
Not really.
Okay.
Sort of. But with Ashton Kutcher now. Michael, I did feel the most connected to him in a way through the story and through what happened and the events. And I did play as Franklin a lot more just because I liked his clothing choice more and his hairstyles. They were pretty neat. Michael couldn't wear hats. I thought that was kind of weird. I pictured him wearing a hat for some reason in the game. You couldn't buy hats for him. But Michael was kind of the, the basic main character that you would have. The, plain Jane kind of guy that's, just look at him. He's white, he has hair, he's like normal height, normal weight, just kind of a normal guy. But in the story, he's anything but normal. I mean, he faked his own death and yada yada. And lastly, I kind of thought that, it's Grand Theft Auto, so I couldn't think this too much. And it was as I would expect for a Grand Theft Auto game to have a character like this. But I thought Trevor was a bit over the top, and I didn't play as him too much. He seemed a bit erratic and, I don't know, kind of delusional and just a messed up kind of person. And I played as him, to go through the story and where he kills a bunch of bikers and he tortures a guy and he stomps a biker's head in, and not to sound like, some type of conservative 1950s morals type of person here, but I thought it was a little too much, at least for the torture. I don't know, I thought that was just a little weird. They're kind of pushing the boundaries a little bit, not too much. But overall, I thought he was kind of crazy, and that's not always bad. I didn't hate him by any means. I thought he was more of a, in some of the missions, a pilot, being that he would fly, so that's one of the reasons why I didn't relate to him too much, because I didn't like to fly the airplanes or helicopters. But I guess I can talk about more about that later. I did like the big beard that you could give him eventually in the story. Some of the little tweaks that you have for different characters, you know, facial hair, clothing and such. But overall, I think I enjoyed Franklin, and then Michael, then Trevor, in that order of most to the least.
Yeah, I mean, I thought, well, I think all three characters are great characters, and they're definitely a lot more interesting than Nico in my mind from Grand Theft Auto 4. But I'll start with Franklin. I feel Franklin, he's an interesting character. He's by no means, you know, this terrible character. Like Sam was saying, he's definitely the good guy of the group, you know. The other two are definitely bad people. Like, at times when I'm playing Michael and Trevor, I feel like I'm playing a terrorist or something. I don't feel that way with Franklin so much, but mostly with those two, I just feel like, wow, like some of the shit they do is just like acts of these, you know, terrorism or something. But Franklin, at times, you know, not that he's an overall forgettable character, but at times I just feel that I do forget about him because I'm playing as Michael and Trevor so much that I'm like, oh, I have all these missions with Franklin to do, and at times in like cutscenes or something, I feel that he's a little bit too your stereotypical gangster having to drop F-bomb and say nigga every other fucking word. And that at times really bothers me, just like how he'll have a one-on-one conversation with like Lester or something. And he has to drop the F-bomb and act, you know, the stereotypical gangster all the time. And that kind of bothered me about him. But overall, I mean, he's an interesting character. Michael, you know, like Sam was saying, you really do feel for him with his family, but at the same time you don't because you know how much of an asshole he kind of is. But his family is really fucked up. Like you know, just so dysfunctional. And at times you almost feel that he does not give a shit, but then, you know, but he does at the same time. Like, you know, he comes off as a hard ass, but then, you know, at times he, you know, can maybe have a little bit of a heart or something. I find him interesting. I just, overall, he's probably the one that I end up playing as the most, but I'm not saying he's my favorite. Now, Trevor, on the other hand, I completely understand, and I kind of agree with, at certain parts, you know, with Sam, how over the top he is. The torture scene is really fucked up in my mind. I was just like, really? Like, you can't even skip that as Trevor. I know it really fits Trevor's personality that they've molded for him in the game, but it's still a little bit, you know, really, really pushing the lines. But overall, I mean, almost every time I'm driving with Trevor or something, I always turn the radio off because I just love hearing what he has to say. He's very unpredictable. You never know what he's going to say, and almost everything that comes out of his mouth is funny. Like, there's just some really, really great lines and moments with Trevor. I like how he's just such an ass to Ron and to Floyd and his brother and all that stuff. He's just like, he's such a dick, but he's funny at the same time. But you know, there's just some really great moments in my mind with all three characters. I mean, when you get introduced to Trevor in the game, that cutscene is just amazing. With him, you know, just having sex with that whore. I mean, it's amazing. It's so funny. But I mean, for the most part, I would have to say Michael's probably my favorite, but Trevor's pretty good. But, you know, Franklin I just kind of forget about at times. But yeah.
One thing about the torture, which is, I mean, it still was like, I had to take like a 15-minute break after that. I was like, damn. But, I mean, and people forget about it, but I think it's happened at least in every single Treyarch Call of Duty game. There's some form of torture that happens.
Yeah, but I just think it's the way that this one was kind of done.
But then, like in Black
You know what I
Ops, well,
mean?
like in Black Ops 1, in the one mission, you stick glass in the guy's mouth and you start punching him in the fucking face. Like, I mean, that was at that time I was like, shit.
Yeah,
So
but
I mean,
waterboarding someone and breaking someone's knees with like a fucking huge wrench or whatever, and
but
Pulling their teeth out.
I took it
it's
as like
kinda fucked
I kind
up.
of sat there and I took it as like that's where everything's gonna go. I mean, that's where a lot of shit's gonna go. I'll deal with it. So I mean,
yeah,
I didn't let it
and-
bother me too much.
And with also with the characters, you know, you definitely at times I felt they were like their relationship was somewhat a little bit inconsistent, mostly with Michael and Trevor. They'll be arguing with each other and like about to kill each other, and then that's it. It'll just stop and they're done, and they'll move on and they'll help each other. It's just kind of like
They're,
you can't. What the hell?
well, it's part of the complexity. They're both playing each other in a
Yeah.
way.
Yeah, like what I thought when Trevor got mad when he found out he thought that Michael was still alive and he was driving down there. I thought like, well, Trevor's gonna try to kill him or something. But then they end up working together and everything's fine.
Yeah.
Like it's
This is
it's all part.
weird.
Everybody's got their own agenda, even
I
though
like-
they're all friends. And
I liked Wade though. He was pretty funny. The Juggalo.
Yeah,
Wade.
Wade is
Wade's great.
So
So
a simpleton.
next is
Yeah,
what,
let's talk about the overall world and, you know, graphically. I think this is one of the best games I've ever seen graphically.
oh,
It's
definitely.
a phenomenal looking game in my mind.
This game is
No.
shit. This game is awesome. I mean, it rivals some of the other games that have come out recently. That the graphics were amazing. Like, I think graphics are, you know, rival The Last of Us in my opinion. Like how
Oh, yeah.
good they are,
Yeah.
and like just the world and all the detail. Like, I was walking down an alleyway, like a random alleyway in the game, and I looked down and there's a reflective puddle. Like, think about how long that one fucking puddle took to make. Like, so much detail, and then like, because there's the wilderness, and then there's all the underwater shit, and then there's the actual city, and then, you know, a couple places you can get on rooftops. I'm like just the whole spectrum of the entire world. You know, you can fly, and then there's all kinds of little things everywhere, and like certain characters that you meet that are just random. And I mean, it blows my mind how much. And I can kind of see how this game took like 5 years to make. I can see like they put
Probably even longer. I mean, I'd imagine that they've started making it before 4 was even done. You know what I mean?
probably.
But yeah.
Like I said earlier about the story, how it's kind of basic. If you took away the graphics, at least to a certain extent, the story wouldn't stand on its own. I think it would just be another game that would be whatever. I think mainly people play this game for the graphics and everything. The story, I mean, it's not really... The story's kind of whatever. People play Grand Theft Auto, oh man, the graphics are cool, the open world, I can do this, and this, and I can do so many things. And really it's the open world thing. And they definitely achieved that with this game. That's why I think it's so popular. Like Keith said, there's like different aspects. There's underwater, there's wilderness, there's city, and I think the graphics are very up to date, you could say. They exceed quite a few games that even come out around this time or have come out recently. It really shows that they put a lot of work into it. The world itself, one thing that I thought was a cool little bonus was the different types of animals. One being sharks, and then there's deer, and the one that I hated the most, like cougars, mountain lions, whatever. Some stupid mountain cat that would kill you. At one point in the game, I was running from cops after a mission, after the jet ski mission. Well, basically get on jet skis and you run, and I got kind of lost. And so far I'm not sure if there are any cheats, but I kind of got lost in the wilderness. I had to climb over mountains and go through trees and everything, and I had a little bit of time to really look at the grassy mountain parts, and I thought they were very well done. Even from the first moment I started playing the game, the first mission, I guess, what do you call it, prologue?
Yeah, the first
Where
heist.
it's snowing and then there's clear weather and there's rain. The rain looks better than it has in any other Grand Theft Auto game and most other games. And then there's desert and there's so many aspects. And also underwater, there are so many things underwater. Sunken ships, planes, fish, so much. It's very large, but once you, at least for me, I've tried to open up all the map and go around, explore everywhere. I feel that aside of little things, there isn't much more to it once you've really explored the entire thing, which is one thing that I tried to do. The graphics, nonetheless, the graphics alone are great, and really, they're just great. I think most other games will be compared to this game graphically, so a lot of other games better step up their graphics.
Yeah, I mean, this game to me this is the greatest part. The world and the graphics are probably my favorite part about this whole game. I just feel this whole game is a technical marvel, because I don't know about you guys, I have not experienced one hiccup while playing this game at all. Not one random glitch or anything like that. And that is just absolutely fucking crazy in my mind.
Well, one thing, I didn't like swimming underwater, because sometimes the camera will get turned around a little bit and you can't really find your direction. That's not like a hiccup or anything, it's just kind of navigational junk.
Yeah, but it's not like you play Skyrim, that has like equally, as large of a world, and just in the intro there's all these glitches all over the place, that you could have or something. They really just killed every single bug that would have happened in this game, and that's the greatest thing in my mind about this. The graphics, I found there's 2 moments, maybe 3, but there was 2 moments where I was just my jaw just dropped. And one, I found a helicopter, I stole it, I jumped up on top of one of the biggest buildings in the game, because YOLO, why the fuck not? And then I looked around at the city, and I was blown away, because the draw distance in this game is just fucking crazy. And if you look down, like if you were in a helicopter in real life and you look down, you would see every single car, on the highway. You see the same exact shit here. You see the same amount of detail in every building. And then there was another moment while I was flying with Trevor over the water, and I kind of came around a mountain over the ocean or the lake or whatever, and just the way the sun reflected off of the water, and just the whole open wilderness of everything, my mind was blown, just because it was so realistic, and it was just fucking crazy. And I think that's the greatest thing. It's just that the amount of detail put into everything, just into one sign, or like Keith was saying, a puddle, or just, if you look at the road, you see all the textures in the road, and it's just the amount of time just to create this world is phenomenal, and it just feels lively. It feels like there's a lot of life, there's a lot of shit to do in it. It's overall phenomenal. I feel that if they just had this game and you just played in the city, it would get a little stale, but opening it up to the mountainside, the wilderness, and the forest, and all that stuff, that just adds a whole nother layer to it, and that's just phenomenal. And overall, I just feel this could arguably be the best looking game to ever be made on these systems. And at times I'm just like, how is this game running on 360 or PS3 or something? It's crazy.
The one thing I kind of noticed, at least waiting for certain parts of the game, like Easter eggs or just traveling around, now I would just look around in the game, because sometimes driving does get a teensy bit boring if you're going through a long or far away destination. The sky never seems to look the same way twice.
Yeah, that is true.
Like the clouds, the sunsets at night when there are clouds, sometimes not, and then in the morning It's not like just like every night the clouds are in the same spot and they just look fake. They actually look very real.
Yeah.
And yeah.
It's just phenomenal. Yeah, I mean, let's just talk about how's its gameplay. What do you guys like about the gameplay itself?
I like the gameplay a lot in my especially compared to GTA 4 in a lot of aspects. I like the driving. A lot more driving, at least to me, seems a lot easier to do than GTA 4. Shooting and the cover system also works so much better than GTA 4. I like how very minimalistic, how very little effort it takes in a gunfight to go against people. Like, it takes a little bit, but like, I don't know, you can get away with, literally just hitting the 2 triggers and you'll probably kill everybody in the room. The only thing is, shooting while driving took a little while to get used to because that was just a little awkward, and flying took a little bit, but then definitely, like, especially the helicopters, flying helicopters is definitely, I think easier and makes a lot more sense than it did in GTA 4. Like, some of the only things that I don't kind of like mechanic-wise in the game is the whole... The physics are kind of wonky in some things. Like, and I know they make more sense, but I like them, but these certain things better in GTA in GTA 4, where you'd hit the handbrake, and the handbrake in GTA 4 was an automatic, like, 720 spin, and that was just awesome to me. And then also, when you'd bail out of a car, you would tumble, which is a funny animation, and it made it, tumbling worth it. Now you just kind of slide, and I'm like, oh, I kind of don't, I don't want to do it because I do it in GTA 4 because it was funny, but the other really things that are out there is, I mean, the special abilities are all cool. I like Trevor's, you can do more damage, you take less damage. Franklin's, you get to drive more. What the fuck is Michael's?
Slow time down.
Never figured that out. Never.
You never really use it that much. At least I haven't yet.
Like, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it seems like just like Franklin's, except you don't have to be in a car to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's about. So I mean, but other than that, I have a couple of, like, little things. The mechanics, I think, the game plays beautifully. I think. I mean, you can do a front flip, which is awesome too, and I've been doing that a lot just because YOLO.
I thought the shooting was a step up. It was really cool how there was the whole targeting thing. Like, at least from what I've known in Call of Duty, like where you aim and it targets your enemy. I thought that was pretty cool. Shooting itself was overall pretty fun. The weapons, they were pretty fun. Guns are guns. I mean, if you play Call of Duty or whatever, it's not like there's a huge difference between them or anything. The sniping is pretty fun. Grenade launchers always come in handy. The driving, once you get used to it, it's very fun. Although, like I said earlier, driving great distances sometimes does get a little boring. I think overall that's just about all I have for it. The entire game is pretty up to date, pretty smooth, nothing all that rough in it. Everything seems to go pretty great.
Yeah, I think this game plays, for the most part, pretty buttery smooth. It's like as smooth as my ass right now. Not really.
You shaved your ass?
No.
Okay.
Whatever.
Just double checking.
Yeah. But I thought in 4, I thought shooting in cover was one of the worst things, like, I've probably ever played. I hated it. It was so awkward and just, it didn't work in my mind. And that's probably the number one thing that really killed that whole game for me. But 5, it's so great how you just hit one button, you're in cover, and how you can flick the stick and boom, just everybody's just fucking gone. It's cool. So overall, combat feels nice. I feel that hand-to-hand combat's pretty fun. I like just randomly walking down the road, you know, running and then punching someone in the back of the head because it's funny. Driving, I feel, is so much better. Like, you actually feel that at times, like, I'm, like, driving this vehicle, you know? It's kind of, like, buses are kind of hard to control going around corners or something, you know? They're harder to turn and all that. You know, if you're in a Lamborghini or something, you know, it's very, the handling's very fishy and it's just, you know, all over the place and it's fun. And I feel getting to the physics thing, I do agree with Keith on, you know, jumping out of cars and stuff, but I feel when you're in a car and you wreck it, the physics for that are just fucking awesome. I just love barrel rolling and all that stuff. It's fun. But, I mean, these guys kind of hit everything. There's not too much I need to add. It plays better than any Grand Theft Auto in my mind.
The other thing about cars that I don't like is the fact that they're... I maybe it'll be different when you play, like, online, because that's the only place that I see that being a thing. But, like, especially with, like, a gun, like an AK, cars are so difficult to blow up. It's my only thing. Like, and also, I want it to be able to drive 70 miles an hour down the road, and when I hit a car, to not just make a bumper dent, which is kind of what happens.
The damage system's kind of weird. Like, you can get in this huge wreck, yet your car won't have that much damage to it.
Yeah,
but,
like,
I mean, it's kind of excusable because there's just so much into this game. What else do you guys want?
One thing that was very realistic is, unfortunately, once you hit enough cars, trees, what have you, your cars, sometimes your tires won't rotate.
Yeah.
And sometimes your cars will basically just break down.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll be going like 2 miles an hour on the highway, and then you have to steal another one. And
yeah, that is true.
that is
cool.
kind of
With-
So
with all the like the side missions that happen in the game, I like how some of them are random and they're just little things. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
so
okay.
much to
That's
it.
okay, and I like a lot of the Strangers and Freaks missions. Like, my favorite one is all the ones involving Barry, with the guy who tries to get you to, you know, support marijuana legalization, and just the different reactions all three characters have, which is amazing,
the aliens, the clowns,
and then nothing,
yeah.
which is great. That was Franklin just being like, "This shit sucks." I died when that
Yeah.
happened, and then like. Also, I enjoy the rampage missions. I don't know, they're just fun to just murder. And then, the only other ones that, like, I really, really like is the paparazzi ones are pretty funny. But, like, I think just how just kind of random a lot of the side missions are is awesome in this game.
I think the greatest missions in this game are probably the heist. I know they're not side missions; they're, you know, story missions, but the heists are just phenomenal to do. I do, however, feel that when you know you do the first one is fucking amazing. But I feel that each one after that, at least so far, I'm close to beating the game. I'm getting there, but I feel that they kind of lose a little bit. You know, the first one's just awesome, then after that it's just kind of like, yeah, cool. I wish you can keep doing them and be like, oh, I randomly want to rob the marijuana shop, so I'm going to do that. But overall, I mean, the heists are probably the best missions in my mind. But overall, I mean, I love all the races. I think they're fun. I did some race with these, like, off-road trucks, and some dude fucking knocked me off the mountain. I got really pissed at him. And I lost. It was right at the end, too. Or, like, I did a jet ski race, and some motherfucker fucked me. And that sucked. But, like, triathlons, how you can go golfing, you can play tennis. I mean, there's just so much side shit to do in this game. It's pretty crazy. And their whole random events is fun. Overall, I mean, you can lose yourself in this game. Hours and hours and hours of stuff. So, yeah.
I thought the golfing was pretty fun. I only played it once with Michael.
Yeah.
I didn't do all that well, probably because it was my first time. But I thought it was fun. Tennis was honestly fairly fun. Like, it's not like Tiger Woods PGA Tour whatever year, but it's pretty good for it only being something as basically an extra in the game.
And there's so much put into them. You know, it's pretty
Yeah.
crazy.
And one area of the map that I'm very fond of, it's fun, is like a swamp-ish area. It's along the west coast, right off of a bridge.
Right.
It's kind of a swampy area,
Right.
and I think it's near a military airport base, whatever. And if you get a big truck or a jeep or something, you can just drive around it, and it's fun. It's just something
You go
just for the
mudding.
heck of it. Yeah, basically. And like Tyler said before, hand-to-hand combat's pretty fun. Just fighting different people, like
Mhm.
the actual punches and the reactions, and then like just knocking someone out like a sucker punch. It's fun.
And that's one thing that's kind of strange about this game is like one punch can just kill someone.
They might not be dead. Dude.
Or knock him out or something. You think
Yeah.
it would take a couple
It
of
don't,
just
it's
like,
like, you'd be
"Hey,
surprised. It doesn't take much sometimes.
punch me, Keith."
I'm not responsible for what happens.
Okay.
Alright.
So,
So we-
anything else to add?
I don't think so.
This is a really fucking long review, but there's
It's-
just way too much to talk about with this game. If we tried to rush it, it just wouldn't give it its fair justice. So, what are you guys gonna give it?
I'm going to give it a 9.7 out of 10 because I believe there's no such thing as a 10 out of 10 game. Because if you give this game a 10 out of 10 and something comes out that's better, what the hell are you going to give that game? So I don't believe in such things as a perfect game. But it's damn close.
I'll give it a 9 out of 10. Just because the story it wouldn't stand on its own. I mean, the graphics and everything are worth a 9 out of 10 alone. And the story would have been definitely the extra one. But I just feel the story would not have stood on its own. Everything else, 9 out of 10. Well, everything else is like 10 out of 10, but then you bring the story in, it lowers the average.
I'm gonna give it a 9.5 out of 10. I mean, like Sam said, the story's, I feel, like I said earlier, is really good, but at times just slightly inconsistent. Same with the characters. But overall, I mean, everything else about this game is phenomenal. It plays great. It looks amazing. And, yeah. So I'm gonna give it a 9.5. Definitely pick this game up if you haven't. If you're like that one person left in the world that hasn't fucking bought it.
Luke,
Yeah.
you're burnt.
I don't know who hasn't bought this game yet. So yeah, I mean, thanks for watching. If you watch this whole thing, and yeah, we'll see you around with more reviews. Subscribe.
You'll
To
see
the
us
Game
around, we won't
Impulse.
see you.